Hello, lovely people, and welcome back to Shan Bunny TV. I could get used to saying that often, but I appreciate you tuning in once more. And real quick, I just want to tell each and every one of my subscribers and those who came online and took the time out to watch the videos that I've already posted, thank you so much. I appreciate it. God is doing plenty of things in my life, and the simple fact that I'm sitting here and sharing my story is a true testament to how faithful God has been. All right, now let's get into it. So, I am doing a very interesting three-part video. I promise I will try to condense everything that I have to say about this particular topic within about 20 minutes. Let's see. But today's topic is, I would call it the 3D. It's the dealing with depression and a diagnosis. So I'm breaking it up in three. So we're gonna break it up in diagnoses / illness, sickness, however you want to categorize it. Then the depression, that's one section, and then finally just dealing with it. But with that said, I would like to talk about the diagnoses first, and then I will talk about the depression after, and then we can talk about dealing with it, coping. So the first thing I'd like to start with is, let's talk about the diagnosis, the big D. Well, the first big D. And the diagnosis is, it's important for us to note the diagnosis or the illness, because that's what is going to set the foundation of how we approach our next step. Now, nobody wants to be told that you're ill, that you're sick, that you have, some kind of chronic or terminal sickness. Nobody. Especially when you're a young girl and you believe that you have your entire life ahead of you and you have goals and dreams and different things you want to accomplish. Sickness is not in your big goals and dream plan. Come on, nobody ever incorporates that into their plans, future, long-term or short-term goals. And when you receive a doctor's report of that extent, you are devastated. You are shocked. You probably will go through a few stages where you might deny it. You might want to seek more than one opinions. And you go from doctor to doctor. And then me being Afro-Caribbean, in my culture, we like to either go and see the bush doctor or or we might see the Obeahman or, whoever, whatever. And this is, once again, just cultural purposes. But as for me and a few others that I know, we would pray about it. We would see God's face and ask for direction and wisdom. Oh, by the way, I will leave in maybe this side of your screen what I meant by Obeahman. A lot of people are unaware of what that is, but I promise because my channel will be informative as well, I will definitely leave definitions to certain phrases or slangs or words that you're not familiar with. So I got you. Anyway, so when you're dealing with those things, that news, a lot of things start to go through your head. Once again, there is you're seeking opinions, different opinions, second opinion, third opinions, and you're trying to do things, that maybe what you saw your grandmother did, or what you saw your mom did, or what you hear your great grand aunt did, stuff like that. Once again, it's just a cultural thing. Or you might just give in and say, okay, well, and accept that news and not fight it, and just be cooperative with your doctors and your nurses and everyone who is on board with you. Another thing is, sometimes when you receive certain news from the doctor, you might want to keep it to yourself. You don't want to explain it. You don't want to tell everyone about it. You want to keep silent about it. I personally, I don't suggest that you keep silent. I suggest, as someone who has received terrible news plenty of times from the doctor, I suggest you definitely pray on it first, and then you talk about it. Talk therapy really helps. Just expressing yourself. Whether it's to your mom, your dad, and if you don't have access to, your parents right away, you can also, you talk to God about it, or you can talk to your best friend, a cousin, someone you can confide in, someone who is totally in your corner, whether they are here in your neighborhood or in a different state, whatever, wherever. Technology has made communication so much simpler and way more accessible now. So even if it's just a text or a telephone call, just kind of expressing how you feel about that diagnosis. So once you get that news, those are the things that I believe you should take as your first approach. Also, just following the directions of your doctor. He is or she is your general practitioner, your medical care provider. And that's what they're there for. That's what they're paid to do. And if they are, personable, someone who you could just sit and talk with, it's okay for you to, maybe have a minute or two conversation and making them aware of how you feel about the diagnosis. And that too is very important during the first stages of receiving that the news from the doctor, the report. And I guess in that regard, you want to make sure that after you have accepted the news, after you have spoken to friends and family, after you have spoken to your provider, your doctor, and then after you've prayed, I say you can move to the next step in peace. So the second to my 3-part section of this video is depression. Depression. Oh my gosh, it's such a taboo, especially in my culture. I remember growing up as a young child, living in Kingston, Jamaica. I remembered I used to saw people on the road talking to themselves, and and then we just labeled them as mad people. I never questioned it. I just went along with what everyone said. Oh, don't talk to Mad Sam, because Mad Sam, he's just mad. But then I used to see him having a regular conversation with my dad. And I'm like, wait a minute, something is off here. How could this guy have a decent conversation like a normal person and still be mad? So once again, I just went along with it. when I saw him, I got scared, I got nervous, but he would just be in his own world, in his own head, just talking and moving along. The topic of mental health, even in the year 2023, is just uber taboo. No one wants to talk about it. No one wants to be vulnerable. No one wants to be transparent. No one wants to address these issues. And they are so common, especially within my community. Now, I identify as a Black woman, and I have friends and family of different backgrounds and ethnicity and races, and I love everyone, and I'm so grateful that I have different kinds of friends, and I'm able to have open conversations with them, and then going to school with other people, and just moving amongst variety of races and backgrounds. It also helps you to be a lot more aware of your surroundings and of different cultures and just mindset, how people look at life and perspectives. And I appreciate that variety so much. So I take it all in, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity when it arises. Now, depression is something that many of my friends or family didn't even know that I had struggled with. And especially with doing dialysis and becoming ill, constant visits to the hospital, and feeling ostracized or isolated, it was one of the darkest moments of my life. I have never felt so alone. And this is not, I'm not coming for anyone here. I'm just painting a picture of how and what I was feeling at the time. Now, one thing you should know, for someone who is going through some kind of illness or sickness, usually they go through it alone in their head. In their head. Yes, the other part of it is, if you check out my other video, I did mention about briefly that it affects everyone around you, including your kids, and whomever you're occupying residence with. Now, apart from everyone else, you are the one that's going to doctor visits, taking the pills, the side effects. I mean, the list goes on and on. However, when depression had hit me personally, at first I didn't know what it was. I just thought I was dealing with just a random emotion of, just me being diagnosed, me going through dialysis and feeling alone, and not wanting to say anything to anyone because I was scared of being judged or labeled. That was a lie. That was a lie from the pit of hell. And I believed that lie for a very long time. I also believed that I was so lonely that God wasn't even there. And that had put me just even deeper and darker. And I became so sad. I didn't have any interest of doing anything. I will also describe, putting meaning, the clinical definition of depression to this side of your screen. And once again, just be informing others who are not aware of these things and what it means and signs and symptoms. I will be listing all of that, but for time's sake, I'll just let you know the things that I was feeling, so you also can try and if you believe that you might be struggling with depression, this will be a good time for you to, maybe you want to look it up, or you want to talk to your primary care provider, and then maybe they could write you a referral to see a psychiatrist, a psychologist, or a licensed clinical social worker. I highly recommend it. So now, when I didn't recognize that I was depressed, because I grew up, once again, just in an environment where we don't talk about our feelings. If you feel what you feel, then you feel it, but you can't say it. You can't express it. And even if you do, you can't say the real deal. And these are things that somehow transferred from childhood into adulthood. And me, with my background in psychology, I just had an awakening one day and remembered this particular topic that I studied when I was at university. And I said to myself, oh my gosh, this might be depression. Just feeling alone, feeling isolated. I remember just watching TV for hours and hours and not moving, not having the desire to get up and even eat. I had total loss of appetite. I didn't want to be amongst people. I just wanted to just be a couch potato. I didn't even get up and brush my teeth. And I'm just being very transparent here. And I'm just expressing how I feel, because maybe somebody else might feel the same way. And they're like, oh, well, this is just something I go through now and again. Depression is real. Mental health is real. And if you're not aware, you will go through life just dealing with it on your own, not making sure that you get all the help that you need. And that's where the dealing part, section 3, comes in. After I recognized that I was heavily depressed, I knew I needed the diagnosis, the clinical diagnosis of depression. So I decided this is where I'm gonna step out of my comfort zone, and I'm going to make the first step. And that's when I reached out to a therapist. I'm still seeing a therapist. And when I say a year ago, this smile would have probably been a smile, but then inside it would have been a frown or maybe tears, just total sadness. But the mask of the smile kept things going and kept things moving. And that's what was, that situation was not healthy for me at all. And it wasn't healthy for my children either. And I'm sure it probably wasn't healthy for friendships and personal or intimate relationships. And I knew something was wrong. So once again, as I said before, I reached out to a therapist. I just called my insurance and I got someone on the phone. I made a few phone calls. I wanted to be comfortable and, kind of sift certain people out, and went with someone who I was much more comfortable with. He's an older male, and we have similar backgrounds, and we spoke for a little bit and we just clicked. We had a connection, and immediately I started seeing him once a week, and we started breaking things down piece by piece for me, and he just made things clearer and clearer for me to keep progressing and keep feeling and started to feel better. And that's what I did. I am so grateful I decided to make that phone call. OMG. It was probably one of the best decisions I've made in that year. Yes, there were other things, outside of the just the sickness and going to dialysis and stuff. There were other personal details that I'm choosing not to share. However, the major part of this whole ordeal was based on illness, sickness, and diagnoses. And that's why it's very important for me to share it in three parts, because first came the sickness, then came the depression, and then dealing with it. And those three are all tied together. And that's why it's fundamental for me to explain why I have to categorize it in that regard. So, as I said, when I started to deal with the depression, that's when I started to realize and understand, okay, here is why I'm acting the way I was acting. And with therapy, also came cooking and baking. And if you follow me on Instagram, which is ShanBunny_TV, you will see that the things I like to do, the things I love to do, and the things that I find peaceful and zen, things that calms me. Another thing is dancing. I will dance even to no music, but what makes me so calm while I dance is I am still able to express myself in a very gentle and harmonious. You can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. But I will move based on how I'm feeling. So if I'm happy, definitely faster and jumping and prancing. But if I am definitely just blue that day, I am smoother and softer and slow to movements. But still, it's letting it out. And once I let that out, I don't have to speak, because my arms are moving for me, my legs, my neck, my shoulders, everything is speaking what I'm feeling. And that was one of the things that I found to be so soothing and just a big relief. And I could go on and on and on for an hour, hour and a half, just simply dancing and moving. And that helped so much. Also, just having a support. I have support from my friends, from church. I have support from friends all over, New York, Connecticut, North Carolina. I love my support team. I am so lucky and so blessed to have them. Each and every one of those people, whether it's praying, whether it's texting, whether it's a phone call or email, has reached out to me. And that helped. It really did help. So having a diagnosis, dealing with depression, and then being aware of all these things that are happening to you. It's not easy. It's definitely one of the hardest things that I've ever had to deal with, but thank God. God gave me that spirit of discernment, that spirit of awareness, so I was able to see and understand, okay, hey, wait a minute. You're not yourself. This is not normal. So let's try and fix it. I always tell people there's two things I need in life. I need theology, and I need therapy. Those two go together for me forever. And I pray that it will go together for you. And even if you're not into talking to people about your business or your personal business, go to God. You talk to Him. Because God, yes, He is the creator of all things. Or above the earth, under the earth, in the earth. Yes, we get it. Sometimes it can be a little intimidating. However, once you go to God about how you truly feel, just sit and talk. You don't even have to be conventional. If you're Jamaican, you can talk in your own dialect. If you're African, speak in your own language. However, whomever, wherever you are, God is a spirit, right? And they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. But you can also speak to him. You can also talk with him because he understands. He's everywhere at all times, knowing all, seeing all. And that's a good thing, the greatest thing about having that one-on-one personal relationship with God. But my story and how I dealt with all these things that were coming at me was definitely just therapy and theology. Just God and talk therapy. And those things merge. I pray that you will use this video as a device, even if it's just as a start, to help you get through not only just physical sickness or illness, but even mental. Just like how I did. I had both. And I asked God to lead me and guide me. And he set me up beautifully with a therapist and scriptures and songs that came just in time for my deliverance. Be patient with yourself. Give yourself grace. All right. I think I did it in 20 minutes. And now I will leave you to it. Go and check out my other videos or look out for new videos. If you subscribe, you'll get a notification that new videos are out. And go check out my Instagram or even my TikTok. It's ShanBunny_TV1. All right?